everyone to the CFTA. Today is Friday, June 20th. You're here at Right On Right Now. Please give a warm round of applause to your host, Jen Frankel.
Hello. I feel with an introduction like that, I should come bounding onto the stage and dance or something. Maybe just tap dance a little bit. I did a show once where I had to tap, and I had to pretend that I knew how to tap when I went into the auditions. And I think they picked me out as a phony, like even quicker than you. It's like most like.
That's pretty good.
Not too bad, right? Like, yeah, I can pretend to be something. Pretend to be something. If anyone hasn't signed up, the sign-up sheet is over there. Welcome everybody to the Center for Talking Arts. How many of you are here for the first time? Excellent, nice. This is a fantastic place, as you can probably tell. It's hosts all sorts of different events that all have one thing in common. They all have something to do with speaking, talking, writing, words. And I've got to say, the idea of dedicated space that actually celebrates the talking arts, so to speak, is an absolutely wonderful thing. I have a few announcements just because if you haven't been here before, we do things in a very particular way. No, we don't. It's nothing scary. The first thing I want to tell you about is actually the last thing on the list because I think it's the coolest thing. How many of you are old enough, like me, to remember Speaker's Corner from... Was that the inspiration, Jake? Yeah, some of you actually remember. So just as you come in the door, if you move the door closed just a tiny little bit, you'll actually see a camera. And on the floor is a little sign that tells you where you can stand and give a little testimonial. So if you feel like there's actually, sometimes they have prompts up there. The prompt for today is if you wanted to talk about how writing has changed or influenced your life. It would be lovely to hear that. So the camera's just running all the time just in hopes of actually capturing something as it goes by. So that's testimonials. That's the first thing. I was going to ask you guys to move up and fill the front seats. If you feel like that, that'd be great. Yeah. I'm not saying that you're not in danger of being spat upon or anything like that. Definitely not. Definitely not. It's very safe to be up here. Thank you so much for moving up. So if you go to the bar, you can have drinks and snacks. So there's food and there's some really amazing homemade Jamaican-style patties. And there's even a vegan option, so there's that. There's also drinks if you'd like to refresh yourselves. They're also, you'll see them when the lights are up later, but there's a series of really great t-shirts that CFTA puts out. They're quite hilarious and quite wonderful, so those t-shirts are available for sale. And they will be streaming this event to the CFTA YouTube channel. Please follow on Instagram and all the other socials, and you'll be able to find out what events are coming up. There's always a Thursday open mic, which is kind of comedy, and is it like mostly comedy? Yeah, it's mostly comedy. So a lot of dick jokes. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to put that out there. So if you don't tell dick jokes, but you do want to do comedy, come and can mix it up a little bit with the rest of it. It's always nice to have, there's nothing wrong with a good dick joke, but it's also nice to have a break from dick jokes. I'm just saying. If your taste is nothing but dick jokes, that's absolutely fine as well. And, sorry? Thursdays. Thursdays for the dick jokes and other things. There's also, so this space is actually, I'm looking for the word, furnished with 5 wonderful cameras. So they actually do, when they're streaming, it looks like a real TV broadcast. It's actually quite amazing. And if you would like a copy of your performance for $10, for mere $10, you can have a copy of your own performance to take home with you and use in your own social medias any way you like. What else? That's just about it, except for, just telling you about this event in particular. So Right On Right Now started in Toronto. My name is Jen Frankel, by the way, just in case you didn't catch that at the beginning. I'm a poet, a writer, a musician, a little bit scattershot. I do a lot of different things, and I do all of them a certain amount of well. I like to think I do some of them more than well, but you'd have to probably, I would have to get an outside opinion on that. I just know that creativity is the spark of life, and that's what this particular event is dedicated to. It's dedicated to the notion that everybody has a creative spark, and everybody has the need to express their creativity. And this open mic is the place where I'm trying to offer you a place to actually share your creativity with other people. So that's the basic premise of this evening, anyway. We don't have a lot of people on the list tonight, so we're going to start with 5 minutes each. If we get through everybody and you still want to go up a second time, I think we'll definitely have time for that. But we're going to just start it off. I've been writing a lot of poetry lately, and I would say that I've been writing a lot of angry poetry. Anybody a fan of angry poetry? Yeah. There's something to be said for. There's one that I actually wrote that's called "Fuck Beauty," and it was quite a long rant. I don't think it's ready for public consumption yet. I'm not sure if it ever will. But I'm going to just read you one. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I spent last year fighting a lot with mental health issues, and I feel like I'm definitely on the good side of those mental health issues now. But the truth is that we all have things that we struggle with, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I think that poetry is one of those great places where you can actually dig into why you're feeling a certain way and figure out maybe how to get through those things. It's cheaper than a psychiatrist, but not necessarily replacement for a really good psychiatrist. I'm just saying. This is called "I Was Raised." I was raised to distrust my feelings. Nay, to mock myself for having them, to ridicule the depth of them, to save myself the pain of someone else doing it to me. I was raised to turn inside whenever I needed love, to crush the instinct and to kill the thought. I was raised to pick at my flaws, to always judge and find myself wanting, while deeper beneath, where I could barely see or breathe, a self-raised fist and rained blows upon a translucent barrier, impossible to cross, flawless in its strength, and a little me trapped below, calling out, "It's all lies." I was raised to hate myself, to loathe the existence I bore like a coat of slime and not a life at all. I was raised to demean myself at every hint of praise, to blush and stammer instead of standing tall, to agree with every finding of fault until it seemed better not to exist than to be such a miserable thing, to run from love, to scorn all truth, to belittle all helping hands, until I became what you see, this wretched piece of fabric, filthy and warm, not a woman at all, just the remainder, the reminder that unkind words have powers far beyond their size. Thank you. So you can see I'm like wasn't in a happy place when I wrote that. But that's not the only thing I write. A lot of the things I've been writing have been, I would say, investigations into why I'm feeling something and into just how deep that feeling goes and trying to actually plumb the bottom depths of it. And I do find that once I get to the bottom of those feelings, they release a little bit. I think it's like when you go to a massage therapist and they really dig into a muscle, and then that you finally have that moment where the muscle just releases and you feel much better. So this is called With/Out, and it's actually about realizing that I don't feel as bad as I used to feel. Something's missing. Some things missing. Sensing constant tension, constant wary readiness to fight or flee, to fawn and fail. Again, to stand up for myself. Some things, self-talk down the middle of every conversation, every idyll interrupted by the tight refrain, I want not to be here, I want it all to stop, but something's missing, gone. Constant pain, gone. Or was it that constant? Could it really have been so pervasive, persuasive, pursuing and paling each moment to dullness? And now, something can happen. Some things can happen that owe nothing to the things that are no longer the sum of me. And thank you. So I'm having a bit of a dilemma because a lot of the poetry I've been writing lately has been about family and really digging into the fucked up things that happen in families. If you have a family where fucked up things don't happen, I love you. There's something so blessed about people who grow up in a way that doesn't require them to question the worth of family. I'm actually doing my next big poetry reading is in Kingston at the end of the month, and it's going to be the very first time that my parents will actually hear me read poetry. And almost all of my poetry has got something very critical about my family in it, so I'm definitely thinking carefully about what I'm planning on reading, because that's another hard part about art is that there's always that desire to be seen and that desire to be invisible at the same time, and those things play off against each other, I find, with a lot of poets and a lot of writers. But all of you are here tonight because you have something that you're going to actually bring up onto this stage. Is Geza the first person on the list?
Yes.
All right. I think that you were the first person on the list the last time I came to a storytelling night, too. Yeah, so you sign up for number 2 and then nobody goes ahead of you.
I usually know I'm going to be first.
Well, I'm so pleased to have you and welcome you to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Geza. Let me steal that thing away.
All right, good evening, everyone. Whoa. I'll keep my voice a little bit lower. Yes, it is. Sorry, I got no poems. I believe someone else is probably going to have a poem or stuff. I do have one I'm working on at home, but after I'm done my story here, I'm more of a storyteller. And after I'm done my story, I'm pretty sure none of you would ever want to hear that poem. So, in my young adult days, from the ages of 20 till my mid-30s, I was an aspiring professional wrestler. I wanted to make it into a career. I mean, everyone dreams of being the superstar, being the champion, being the one that everyone watches on the pay-per-views. But obviously, it doesn't work out for everyone. I had a great time. I got to travel. I got to see lots of places of the world, coast to coast states, all of Canada, and I got paid to do it. So in that aspect, experience-wise, just getting out, getting to meet people, and there's lots of wrestlers I met that even though we were just together for a short time, it's like lifelong friendships. If I run into them, it could be like 12 years since I last seen them, and it feels like 12 years plus a day, because we just pick up right where we left off. You know what I mean? Like the camaraderie, you know, in professional wrestling is incredible, right? You really make lifelong friends. Now to touch on the friend subject, also if you're the guy who maybe likes to pull pranks, or do weird things, like to people, it usually seems like your friends are the worst recipients of these pranks. And that happened one night for me. Now, wrestling is all about characters. They say the most successful character you can be is one that's closest to your personality, because then it's as easy to think like that character and be that character. You're just yourself, except you explode it 10 times more than what you really are. Now I'm going to explain this character to you. This one was just a crazy idea I had. It's got nothing to do with my personality, but it was just this character's name. He was a bad guy. His name was Dr. Stinkfinger, and he was an evil proctologist. And it was something I thought about, talked about, in the change room with the guys. And they just got so used to it, they would be like, is tonight the night? Is Dr. Stinkfinger going to be there? I'm like, no, tonight's not the night. Go to the next show. Giza, yeah. Dr. Stinkfinger? No, not tonight. Because I knew in my head, I couldn't announce Dr. Stinkfinger was going to be there before he appeared. It just had to be a surprise appearance. So one night I'm wrestling a friend of mine. He actually lives in Hamilton here. His real name is Curtis, but he goes by Reggie Marley. So he's just plays easygoing, Jamaican dude. So we had our match. I was the champion. He was challenging me. So he went out first. I came out second. And I already knew in the back of my head, I'm like, tonight's the night. Tonight is the night. Oh, I'm going to get him good. So, of course, I don't want to surprise anyone. Hopefully I don't let anyone down too hard. Professional wrestling is sports entertainment. If I was going to look through the crowd and see a believer, unfortunately it'd be you. I don't mean that in a bad way. So I'm sorry if it's sports entertainment. So basically, everybody knows the moves, but every match is a different dance. But everybody knows the moves. So I got together with Reggie. I said, Reggie, this is what's going to happen tonight. I said, we're just going to circle each other. You're going to be jaw-jacking me a lot. I'm going to pull back to throw the punch. The crowd seems to like me. Even though I'm the bad guy, this crowd seems to like me. So I said, then when we finally tie up, I'm going to push you into the corner. And then I'm going to clean break you. And he's like, okay. And then we figured out everything else. And I was like, oh, the setup is set. Here comes the horrible part. We get ready to go. They're playing his music. One last big hug. High fives. Have fun. See you out there, buddy. He's like, yeah, see you out there. He walks through the curtain. As soon as that curtain closed, I ripped off my shirt. I had a wrestling singlet. I pulled down my singlet, and people are looking at me, and I'm like, Dr. Stinkfinger's in the house. I took this, and I put it between my butt cheeks and just started rubbing. I was like, oh, rubbed away. Oh, that's not good enough. I got to go deeper. Oh, there we go. That's it. And I just sat there rubbing that thing in there up and down. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Hey, can you help me get dressed? So they're helping me. I get my outfit back on, get my shirt back on. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. They play my music. I come through the curtains. I get into the ring, and the referee comes over. The referee usually does the 1, 2, 3 over you, checks you over, make sure, you got no foreign objects, and everything else. He comes over. He's checking me over. He says, let me see your hands. I'm like, here. And then I go, Dr. Stinkfinger's here. He's like, whoo, you're good. Yeah, he's good. He's clean. Ding, 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 ding. We're circling around. He's jaw-jacking me. I'm threatening him with a punch. And then finally, here we go. We tie up. Whoa. Now, instead of just pushing him into the corner, which I was going to do anyways, this hand was here. It now came here. And I just pushed him right into the turnbuckles and just kept that finger underneath his nose, rubbing it back and forth. And you can see the look on his face. He's like, oh, oh, you son of a bitch! And he just slams me into the chest. Now, at that point, I'm howling. The referee is laughing. He was livid. I mean, I don't blame him. It was an ash-smeared finger stuck underneath his nose. And the best part was we still had 15 minutes of a match to go through. And then later in the match, I got behind him, picked him up, threw him down face first, came down on top of him, and then took that same hand and just went across his face. And then he just kept fighting me. And I'm laughing, and he's fighting, and I'm like, it's just easier if you let me do it. And then he just, And that's why I said, it seems like you do worse things to your friends than you ever do to your enemies. I'll be working on that poem. I don't know if you'll want to hear it, but thank you for listening along. I hope you enjoyed it.
Do you know what? That wasn't as rough as the last story I heard you tell.
Oh, yes.
I feel like I need to clear the air in a so to speak, because our next poet, next performer is a lovely poet who does not talk about proctology at all, as far as I know, in her work. Are you okay to come up? Okay. Another big round of applause for Geza, though, first. Dude, I gotta tell you, my roommate loves wrestling, and that's why he's not here tonight, because it's SmackDown. Oh. Yeah, there's no way he's gonna be out anywhere on a Monday or a Friday, except in front of that TV. And I've been to 2 live shows with him now, and I've got to say, like, if you have not been to a live wrestling show, you owe it to yourself. It is some of the most fun you will ever have. Just let yourself, I was going to say let yourself go, but in light of in light of Geza's story, I don't know if that's exactly the message I want you to take away with you. Just let yourself have fun. Let all of your worst instincts come out and scream and shout and cheer people on and boo and hiss, and it is a really fun time, and you will never see such incredible athleticism as when you're at a wrestling show. So thank you so much for bringing a little bit of that world here. I think we're going to go for a completely, so I guess in the words of Monty Python, and now for something completely different. I met this poet in Toronto at my old event, and she moved back to Hamilton. So I was always really hoping I'd be able to get her to come out to something, and here she is tonight. Please join me with a really warm welcome for Riss V. Rose.
So dick jokes and proctology. I think I'm going to be a big letdown. So, good luck to me. What's that?
It'll be a step to the side.
Yes, a very different side. I just want to say congrats to Jen for Wown's triumphant start in Hamilton. This is so exciting. It was so much fun in Toronto. I'm so happy that I'm local to it again. I hope to come every single time. So huge congrats, Jen. Oh, yes. Go ahead. So I have a typewriter. I call him a he because I called it Montgomery, so that's his name. He's a 1923 Underwood made in Hamilton. And in this folder, I have a bunch of poems that I've typed up on really cool paper that I found. Sometimes I give them as gifts, sometimes I put them on the wall, sometimes I sell them, and this is a folder of ones that just sit and collect dust. So I figured I would bring it and pick one out, like drawing from a hat, and see what I get, and then read it out. And maybe do more than one depending on how much time we've got. So this is very exciting for me because I have no idea what's in here. I forget. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Okay. So it's on this little rose envelope. It's an excerpt from, I think it's called The Player, Ode to the Player. I'm forgetting now. I think from my second poetry collection. And it says, "Here's what happens when you say I love you. It gets both easier and harder to breathe. My heart gets louder while the world goes quiet. And above all else, I believe it." A little short one. It's just an excerpt. I said second poetry collection because I published the first one, Supernova, in January 2022. It's a poetry collection that relates the life cycle of a relationship to the life cycle of a star, our sun, hence the name Supernova. And I have a few copies on me tonight if anyone's interested. So let's pick another one. Hopefully one that's a full poem and not just an excerpt. But we'll see. We'll see what we get. This one feels small. Oh, okay. This is 2 papers. I gotta find the other one now. That was easy. This one's called Dear Rose. I think this is also from Poetry Collection 2. In that collection, I was, what's the word I'm looking for? Experimenting a lot with narration styles and like points of view. The first collection is very much about me from my point of view. So this second collection was kind of like, it's supposed to be sort of dreamy. You're not sure what's real and what's fake. So this is called Dear Rose in quotation marks, because again, it's like, is it real? Is it fake? Who is this Rose? Why is it in quotation marks? Is it a real letter? So, and it's on this little, again, rosy kind of paper. So Dear Rose, she only calls me when she's drunk and can't remember what she said, but she's memorized the tones of the buttons on her phone when they sing what she'll regret. I only visit when she's drunk and too far gone to yell at me. Foot heavy on the gas, anticipation growing fast, I swallow my thudding heartbeat. She only looks at me when she's drunk. I know she can't even see me, but I come anyway. I'd come any day to be the blur that she sees. She only touches me when she's drunk. Sometimes she tears at my clothes, but it's always the same. She'll whisper my name, but keep her pretty eyes closed. She only needs me when she's drunk, though I know her lips are numb, her kisses are dire, her skin on fire. Yes, I can pretend this is love. She only holds me when she's drunk, in the dark, after it's all over, and I make sure to leave after she falls asleep, since I know she'll wake up sober. She only loves me when she's drunk, and though it makes me hate myself, when she drinks, I'm there, because I'm well aware that's the only time she loves herself. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Jen gave me the nod, so I'm going to try for another one. Oh, that's not even a poem. I was in an a cappella group, and this was the cover of one of our singles called Who Are You Really? And I just typed up a bunch of question marks. So there's that. Thank you very much. My true finest work. I didn't even write that title because it's a cappella, so we do a lot of covers. Okay, that one's also from a cappella. Okay, that one might be fun. So when we did our concerts, we usually gave it a title. I would look up the title in the dictionary and then make a poem out of the different definitions. So we had a concert called Blue, and this is on little sky blue kind of paper. So this is the poem for Blue. Intermediate. They sailed off into the melancholy, sad, as of the sky or sea. She was dressed in blue on a sunny day, or the unknown. Thank you. Maybe I'll do one more, if that's okay, Jen? Okay, perfect. Okay. I feel like I'm getting very excited when I pull it out because I really don't know what's in here. This is just on blank paper, but I had put it on a big piece of green. This was from a collection, number 5, which had a lot of color themes in it, so like green as in grass. So this is about like the grassy, earthy, dirty tones of the ground that we walk on. It's called Back to Where I Came. With arms and legs thrown carelessly to the side, the grass tickling my skin and playing peekaboo with my hair, and the sun warm on my closed eyelids, I feel the music seep into every empty crevice of me, and it is at that moment that something cold and dark and wet from deep underneath the fallow pushes itself up to the fern to wrap itself around my limbs and pull me back down to where I came. Funny, I always thought I came from up. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for. I'm really glad to kind of rediscover you this way. This makes me really happy that you'll be able to come back to this. Love the idea of the life cycle of a star representing a relationship. There's so many ways in which that just really lands well with me, especially in terms of breakups and explosions, and the fact that stars. The eventual fate of a star depends on its mass. So a smaller star will actually collapse into itself and become a dwarf star, and others will turn into quasars, and it takes a lot of mass to make a supernova. So that's always kind of been, I don't know, I just always love, I geek out on astronomy, what can I say? Please join me in welcoming our next reader. I think we actually had you read, I think we had your very first reading for a poetry thing, a couple of times. Oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm just looking out at you. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this writer's style. So I can't wait to hear what you've got to say today. So please join me in welcoming Story. Oh, and if you're here and you haven't signed up and would like to sign up, the book is just over on the corner of the bar.
Thank you. Yeah, it was impulsive like 2 months ago that I decided to come up, and it was quite fun. So here we are. 24-hour news cycles demand headlines that steer you away from your routines to marvel at what he did, what she said, what they both left unsaid, what all of us eventually wish we could forget. But we make damn sure this city never sleeps, because no person and no thing that gets a full night's rest ever does anything crazy enough or interesting enough to make the front page. This is the older version. 1 sec, sorry. Okay. Sure feels like there's a lot of drama happening for a Tuesday, but maybe that's because it's a Friday. The days just seem to blend together. A Sunday is no more a Sunday than a Monday. Sometimes you live 3 Thursdays in a row. They say that this city never sleeps, and we make damn sure of that, because no person, no thing gets a full night's rest ever does anything crazy or interesting enough to make the front page. Don't you care about the tragedy that has happened? No, not that one. That one happened long enough ago that it is well within the public's right to make debatably tasteful or tasteless jokes about it. Not that one either. That tragedy doesn't sell newspapers anymore. Not that newspapers sell well in general, but old news is certainly not healing that journalistic wound, is it? No, not that other tragedy either. We just, we kind of just plain old forgot about that one, didn't we? When was that, like 8 months ago? I know you're supposed to worry about a crisis at a border, but it's difficult to parse if that's the border to the west or the south, or a border between ideologies or downstairs neighbors, or between societal wants and expectations, or between journalistic integrity and intent. Because the headline today reads itself, and it itself reads at a 4th grade level. Because this just in, Canadian attention spans rose 3% on the US dollar yesterday, when one of the governments, it is currently unclear which, have offered a mail-in rebate for a thin slice of your prefrontal cortex. There's a chance that there may have been more to that story, but the light in front of me has turned green, and I, being a partially law-abiding citizen that I am, I only doom scroll at red lights. And maybe straighter portions of the highway should the occasion demand it. But I know some of you may find that dangerous and a recipe for disaster, but I'll damn well have you know that I am a mediocre cook, so any disasters that I whip up will be mild at best. Plus, it's only practical to get some training in now for the near future of self-driving cars, lest your scrolling thumb atrophy, leaving you forced to, look out the windows or something. And if I didn't stick with this training regimen for the next 3 stoplights, I might have missed a later headline that warned that chopping off part of your brain might have lasting consequences. And once that near future hits, cars will become less of a tool for the owner and more a reflection of them. My check engine light has been on for days, but man, every time I pop to check the engine, it's still just sitting there. And what else do you do take it to your psychiatrist, where he'll likely shrug and bump up your prescription for 85 octane to 91. And on the way out, you realize that it's been 8 months since you last checked your oil, and as the dipstick goes in and comes out flaccid and dry, you begin to think over and overthink the infallible phallic evidence that even though some things, in fact, most things, point to something being very, very, very wrong, even though the engine looks like it's smoking, even if you don't yourself, at the end of the day, the fucking thing still drives itself up the fucking wall, up through the roof, up high enough that your head is in the clouds. Feels just like all your elementary school teachers used to say, kid spends more time daydreaming than the current curriculum calls for. And then, as you begin to fall back down, as you begin to feel yourself break down, just as this metaphor itself begins to break down, you may feel compelled to make a promise to yourself that should you survive this, you'll make an honest effort to not get so drunk on metaphors anymore. That's it. No more self-driving under the influence. Clearly, it is soon to be bad for your health. And as you crash into the increasingly literal pavement below, as the metal twists and contorts under the pressure, possibly giving you the hug that you didn't know you needed, as the ringing in your ears slowly subsides, as the dust clouds come to rest in your respiratory system, it's a good thing your lungs have a protective coating of nicotine tar, otherwise that dust would hurt more than the crash. As you open your eyes and remove your rose-tinted glasses, you realize that you've already relapsed. So what's the harm in indulging in one more? Rose-tinted glasses are so 8 months ago. Anyways, why don't you try these new-fashioned, status quo tinted glasses instead? As far as I can see, at the end of the day, movie, episode, book, everything is just fine.
Give it up again for Story. It's funny, that's because last time you did something that had something to do with driving too. It's funny, I just, since I was here last, I actually worked 4 days on a short film shoot as a PA, so I did a hell of a lot of driving, mostly in a 16-foot truck. Hours and hours and hours on the road, driving around Toronto, picking things up and dropping things off. On roads that should not accommodate that truck. And then every now and then you're going up the ramp onto the highway, and you realize you're just 5 kilometers faster than you really should be at that moment, and your stomach just drops a little bit until you get yourself down to the right speed, so that you know you're not going to actually knock the truck over on that ramp, and then all those great things that happen. Yeah, and I loved last time. There's a bit in what you read about driving, being in a ditch because you'd driven off a road to avoid a conversation. I thought was really great. So thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you keep coming out, and I hope you'll keep coming out. I just now have the very great pleasure to introduce our next reader, who I think actually might sing something tonight. Dexter. Dexter is one of the masterminds behind this place, so be nice to him. You won't have to be nice to him. You'll just want to be nice to him. Please join me in welcoming Dexter to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I am a closeted writer. I think most of us are. And I'm scrutinizing the tech. One sec. This is George, everyone. He's an occasional performer himself, and we are very particular about our AV system. That's great. I think that works. Yeah? Okay. How long ago was this? Back in 2014, 2015, I was going through a rough spell in my life. I was always in a relationship that lacked connection, lacked peace. And it had to do a lot of things. I really appreciate social media in the sense that we learn so much about self-care and going through a lot of mental health issues. My one outlet was poetry, and I was really private about that. And I wrote this love song with kind of the love that I thought in my head, that I imagined. And just like to sing it for you guys. Give me a moment to feel it out. Should I sit or stand? I'm gonna stand. I'm gonna stand so I can. Hey George, can you put on that reverb to cover my voice? Da da do 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 do. No wait. Yeah. How was that? Good? Okay. Here we go. Na 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 da na 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 na. That's my wife humming my song. She's my biggest fan. Okay, here we go. There is little that means a lot to me. Lessons wrapped in sob stories. Kindness is the strength you see. You are someone meant for me. Walls break down when I hear you speak from vulnerable dignity. Coffee shops, these city streets, I confess so easily. All my wealth is who I am. My worth is hard, but more than that, my best is investing my life in chance to be with you over and over again. You radiate intelligence, your playful grace doesn't condescend. Your choice of friends, your fashion sense, every thought a compliment. Precarious my spirit is, yet you are almost opposite. Oh, how we laugh at all of it. Love is based on such friendships. All my wealth is who I am. My worth is hard, but more than that, my best is investing my life in chance to be with you over and over again. I'll love you over and over again. Thank you. Yeah, I need someone to compose the instrumentals, but yeah. Welcome Jen back to the stage.
So you're going to tell me that you conjured this wonderful woman out of the ether by singing about her? Is that what happened? Would you agree? That's absolutely wonderful. I've heard a couple of Dexter's songs now, and I feel like there's got to be somebody out there who's just like jonesing to put the music to your words. I was going to say too, when Riss was talking about being in an a cappella group, I actually did an instrumental album, and I called it "I Don't Need No Stinkin' Vocals" or "Sans Voce." I'm planning on doing an a cappella album at some point too. I think I'd love to do that. But yeah, just like a little instrumental EP. For a while, I was writing songs for a series of short films that were all they were all under 2 minutes long. The idea was that they were all like taking a word and then all of the different words that relate to that. So one of them was love, one of them was home run, one of them was penis. So that I basically was recording all these little 2-minute song bits that were just for the music for these little films, and it was just the word and an image, and they would just flash up. They're really cool little films. I'm really sad that they're not online anymore, but it's really funny. I don't know. I guess if you've been around as long as I have, you find that your work is it's out there, and you're not necessarily sure where it went to. And I was actually just looking through some of the early some of the early literary magazines that my work appeared in, and was actually really surprised that this thing had actually gotten into a book at some point. I didn't even remember that this was actually part of something. But yeah, it's actually kind of fun when you're old enough that you don't know what you've done anymore. I'm just saying that's good. I really like getting older. You might not believe me, but I really like getting older. That has apropos of nothing. I'm going to go on to the next person who's, I'm just trying to give him a little more time because he just signed up and he wanted to go later, and of course he's next. So please join me in welcoming Steve. This is really the only thing you have to do when you run an open mic, is you have to be able to estimate how tall people are.
Yeah. All right. Hey everyone, how's it going? The lights make it so I can't see many of you, so I think that's going to be great for my confidence. So I am publishing a book this summer called Whisper Falls, The Town That Dreaded Halloween. It's a collection of 7 short stories, all based around Halloween, kind of inspired by the various Halloween-related media of my childhood. So the snippet of the story I'm going to be reading you today is about 2 siblings, Beth and her younger brother David. And now Beth, on Halloween night, gets voluntold by her parents that she has to take David trick-or-treating. We've all been there. You don't want to take your little brother or sister out trick-or-treating, right? You want to do your own thing on Halloween. So to make the evening a little less miserable, Beth invites her partner Sam along, and while they're out trick-or-treating, Sam decides to offer Beth a break and say, "Don't worry about this next street. I'll take David. We'll go have a good time. We'll be back. You take a load off." Beth says, "Sure." So David and Sam go off, and they have a bit of a weird encounter you wouldn't want to have on Halloween night, and that's the scene I'm going to read for you tonight. David and Sam quickly learned why Beth had been so reluctant to come up this way. The steep slope of the street made their calves start to hurt after just 3 houses, but neither of them acknowledged it out loud. Suspicions had been proven true when numerous full-size candy bars were deposited in the plastic jack-o'-lantern David carried. There was something off about this particular street, though. David noticed it first, then Sam soon after. The street was a cul-de-sac, meaning there was no exit at the end. Therefore, the kids on the other side of the road were moving in the opposite direction, despite that making it for a more favorable incline, which should have sped the steps of the costumed children who walked there. Everyone trudged at a slow, listless pace. Heads were hung, bags of candy were frighteningly empty, if not completely absent. A few of them were crying. The point where the changeover seemed to happen was at a gathering of children and teenagers where the incline of the street nearly reached its peak. Standing in the center was a man of indeterminate age. His skin was pale and sallow, and his smile looked a little too large for his face. Yellow eyes gazed out from over top a pair of old-fashioned pince-nez glasses. He wore a jet-black scarf and shoes with a checkerboard pattern on them. His most striking article of clothing, though, was a golden jacket which shone wickedly in the streetlights. It was adorned with the 4 suits of playing cards, and looked as if it were made of metal but still moved like fabric. "Fancy a wager, anyone?" he posed to the gathered crowd. "Why waste your time trick-or-treating when you could triple, no, quadruple your candy acquisition with just one simple bet?" He gestured behind him to a sack that could put the great Saint Nick to shame, made of burlap and filled so full that you could see a high fructose heaven through the fabric. Smarties and Suckers, Hershey chocolate and Haribo gummies. There looked to be no end to the variety the bag contained. "I want to try," David announced happily to Sam. "If we win, we can get off this street and be home in time for Charlie Brown." "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts, little dude." "What?" "I'm saying you always got to be skeptical about free candy," Sam laughed. "There's no such thing as free candy when you gamble with the gamesman, mister," said the strangely dressed man. "Wagers are made and prizes are won. That is the nature of the transaction." "I'm great at games," bragged the young skeleton. "This will be a piece of cake. Let's do it." "Splendid," chirped the gamesman. "Let's start with something small, shall we? Let's say half my candy for half of yours." "That sounds good," said David, his optimism not shared by Sam. "Then the wager is made." The gamesman reached into his coat pocket and produced a small pile of trading cards, which were the color of dark emeralds and lined with silver. "The game is simple, boyo. Find the lucky rabbit." He flipped one of the cards around to reveal the red silhouette of a rabbit. After flipping it back, the cards were shuffled for a few seconds with a disturbing level of finesse before being fanned out and presented to David. "That one," David declared with assured triumph. The card he turned around, though, bore the image of a skull, which laughed at him by some sort of hologram effect. "Oh, tough luck," moaned the gamesman. David's jack-o'-lantern wobbled as half its contents disappeared, and the hefty bag of candy shifted with added volume. "Put that frown away, though. The gamesman is nothing if not courteous. I'll give you a chance of redemption, young man. A new game, double or nothing. What do you say?" "David," Sam cautioned. "Okay," David agreed. Something about losing half his night's work in an instant made his face hot, filled with a secret shame that an 11-year-old couldn't fully comprehend. "Wonderful." The last syllable he spoke was stretched to an uncomfortable degree. "This next game is pretty simple. Guess what number I'm thinking." "Hey," barked Sam. "That's not fair. How's he supposed to—" "It's okay." David held up a hand to silence his friend. Eyes narrowed at his opponent, the boy drew a breath and waited for his target to come to him. 23.42, he said at last. "That's impossible," muttered the gamesman, whose eyes had gone wide enough to give Sam and David similar concerns about them bulging out of his head. What shocked them just as much was when the sack of candy began to float in the air, drifting several feet until it landed at David's side. "How did you do that?" the gamesman suddenly snapped. Half the assembly backed away with this change in tone. "There's no way you could have guessed that number. What are you?" "My name's David. If you're going to be a sore loser, we're just going to leave." "Yeah," Sam added smugly. "My boy David here is about to be very popular." "I very much doubt that." The gamesman's voice was quiet now, almost growling at a whisper. Giving no sign of what he was about to do, he abruptly punched David square in the face, knocking him back nearly a foot and onto his backside. "Sorry, kid, you did win. Somehow. But at the end of the day, there's still good old-fashioned theft." Things happened in a blur after that. Sam had immediately run to David to see if he was okay, giving the gamesman plenty of time to grab the bag of candy, haul it over his shoulder, and run off into the night. In complete shock, Sam could think of nothing else to do but pick David up in their arms and go find Beth. The plastic jack-o'-lantern was left behind in the street, empty and cracked down the middle of its face. They found Beth where they had left her, sitting on a large white rock on the edge of someone's lawn. As soon as she saw the pair, she shot to her feet. After a brief inquiry to confirm David wasn't grievously injured, Sam recited a succinct summary of events as they could. "The gamesman," David's sister repeated back. "Really?" "I don't know," Sam lamented. "He was some kind of freak, okay?" "Beth," David whimpered, still in Sam's arms. His words were shaky, like he was fighting the urge to cry. "Yeah, buddy, I'm here. It's okay." "Can we just go home?" "What?" I know it was dumb to make a bet with that guy," he blubbered. "I'm sorry. I've already kept you out long enough. We should just go home and cut our losses." "David, all that candy probably would have wrecked my teeth anyway." There was something about the way David looked in that moment that affected Beth deeply. There was a snot bubble lodged inelegantly in one of his nostrils. His teeth were chattering, likely as much due to being upset as it was to the chilly October evening. A few choice tears had begun rolling down his cheeks. Worst of all, though, was the black eye forming on the right side of his face, sure to be a shiner which would put some boxers to shame. Sincerely speaking, he looked pathetic, and that made Beth inexorably angry. Something changed in her. The remnants of her hangover had been like a fog, now suddenly and violently burned away by the fury building in the pit of her stomach. Their parents wanted nothing more than to give David a good Halloween. It was the only thing that mattered to them, and for good reason. While the onus would never entirely fall upon a sibling the way it did a parent, she was still his big sister, and she had failed to protect her brother when he needed her most. Shame carried her other emotions forward, pushing them to their natural, outrage extremes. "Screw that!" she exclaimed with more volume than she had probably intended, garnering unfavorable looks from the various costume-wearing passersby. David and Sam snapped to attention, neither of them having heard Beth curse so aggressively before, even if it was a mild one. "Some jerk who dresses like he works in the world's worst casino thinks he can steal our Halloween? He's got another thing coming." "Beth," said Sam, equal parts afraid and enamored. "I agree that it's a raw deal, but it's just candy, you know?" David nodded in agreement rapidly, his body reacting to his sister's outburst like he was the one in trouble, even though she was on his side. "It isn't just candy," she shot back. "It's the principle of the thing. How many other kids are going home empty-handed tonight because of this creep? Who's to say he hasn't given out more black eyes? Or done worse? You two can go home if you want, but I'm not coming back until I've got a bag full of Milky Ways, Jolly Ranchers, and the gamesman's manhood." Beth spun around and stormed off. She made it as far as the next crosswalk before freezing, fighting to admit that she was afraid. The full circumstances she was in weren't fully known to her, but she feared what would unravel if she pulled on this thread. When she turned around, Sam was putting David down, and David was wiping his nose and his good eye with the sleeve of his costume. When they noticed her staring at them, their gaze fell to the ground. "Well, are you coming?" she asked expectantly, and the pair hurried to catch up with her. As they walked, David tugged on his sister's coat. "Beth," he asked, his voice now a little more even, "are you going to kill the gamesman?" "We'll see," she said plainly, not looking at her brother or stopping for even a second. Thank you very much, everyone. One more time, the book is going to be called Whisper Falls, the Town That Dreaded Halloween. I don't have an exact release date yet. I am aiming for mid to late July, so keep an eye out for it, please. Thanks so much.
I'm so excited. I should let you know, too, that Steve's first book is called How to Succeed in Skeleton Business, and it's about a skeleton who tries to make it in the world after stealing a dragon's hoard. It's fantastic. It's like a lovely, lovely book. So I hope you'll find him online and follow him. Thank you again. Thanks, Steve. That was great. And thank you for leaving us with a cliffhanger, too. I always appreciate that. Next, we've got another one of the wonderful people who makes this place happen. I'd like to introduce Georges. Please welcome.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about 3 moments. First, I'll give you a choice. Would you want to hear a story, like something I learned deeply and it moves me, or you want me to do something else? Up to you. I love how you have a choice. You think you have a choice. I'm not that good. I'm not gonna come up with a sonnet right now. Being your slave, what should I do betend? Upon the hours. Life is like I know it's one of those, right? You said life. Life is like a book or a magazine, and it's filled with moments. Some moments you open them, you're like, oh, that's great. Well, wow. And other moments, like the pages are stuck together, you know? So my stories are always in between those pages that are stuck together, you know? Big joke for Jen. Yeah. But these 3 moments in my life, I call them jumping out without a parachute. So 3 moments where I literally, well, figuratively, jumped out of an airplane and figured out how to make a parachute on the way down. And but the underlining tone of all these 3 moments in my life, I call it, you cannot curate what you do not endure. And I'll tell you why I chose these words. So the first story is, I grew up in a Middle Eastern society. I'm from Lebanon. I'm an immigrant, the good kind. No, I'm joking. There are no good immigrants, by the way. They're all terrible. I'm joking again. We're all good. So I grew up in the Middle East, and you know, typical, and I think people from an Asian background in general could connect to that part, which is when you grow up, your parents give you all the choices in the world to become whoever you want. So engineer, lawyer, or doctor. But you can do anything, absolutely anything. It's your life, but engineer, doctor, lawyer, you know? Luckily, I didn't have parents who forced me into anything. It's just that I grew up in that, like, oh, engineer, doctor, lawyer. So I chose engineer. And I studied engineering. But through a terrible story of loss, losing my dad, which was my biggest fear growing up, I've always told my wife, she was my girlfriend. I mean, she still is now, just we have a contract. I told my wife my biggest fear in life is that I would wake up one day and I would find my father dead in his bed. And that's exactly how it happened. And it took me a year to learn the lesson from that moment, which was, if my biggest fear materialized, and I'm still here, I'm not dandy, you know, but I was okay, I'm functioning. What else could I be afraid of? So I started deconstructing everything was ever taught by religion, by society, by culture. And I said, no, I want a fresh start. I want to learn new ways to think about things. And the first thing I figured is that I wasn't happy as an engineer. Now I still love engineering, and it's at the basis of everything I do, including the way I'm talking to you. But I hated working as an engineer. Like, I didn't give a fuck. Like, just to put it in layman's terms, I didn't give a fuck. Like, you could tell, dude, the building fell. I'm like, so no work tomorrow? Is that what you're telling me? Not working? I didn't care, and I didn't want to live a life where I didn't care. So the first thing I did is I woke up after 3 days of intense crying with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, because we have a contract. She can't leave me. Now there's lawyers involved. Anyway, yeah, so I told her I don't want to be this anymore. Like, I want to do what I like doing in life. And she goes, what is that? And I said, I just know it has to be something creative. And I've always had a knack for filming. And I told her, that's what I want to do. So she said, do it. And that was the first time I realized that I have a partner in my life who's very well calculated. Like, she's very smart. But here she is telling me, let's jump together and we'll figure out how to make the parachute on the way down. And it's because I don't have such, what do you call it, confidence. I have more faith in myself than I have belief in myself. Like, belief comes and goes, but I have way more faith in myself. I know things are gonna get really good eventually, but I don't know how. I just know that I'll work for it. So that was my first story of realizing, wow, here's a woman who's telling me to jump. And I did jump. And I made it my sole purpose to make a big enough parachute so when we land, we can both land safely. Like, that motivated me to just give it like my 1,000% chance. Now, where I lived in Kuwait, in the Middle East, high-paying jobs like doctors, lawyers, engineers, you have to have your degree anytime you want to change jobs. Otherwise, you cannot bear the title engineer and therefore be paid that money. So the first thing I've done, literally, is I shipped my degree back to Lebanon just so I don't have a plan B. That's how fucking, like, I just wanted it, you know? Like, I wanted it, and I wanted more than anything else. And people tell me, bro, are you fucking crazy? You're leaving engineering. I'm like, yeah, I don't care, and I don't want to go back to it. So I made sure to make it a point to send my degree back home. Now, the second story is about my wife, Maria Celeste Altamiranda, which she hates that. She always says, don't speak about me. But she's like, don't speak about, you speak about me, yeah. My wife is such a beautiful soul inside out. And not because she's my wife, because, you know, she's my girlfriend, but now we have a contract. She's an incredible person all around. And we're two polar opposites, me and her. Like, I love comedy and she's a lawyer. But we're polar opposites. And it's because I believe both of us took time to deconstruct everything we've ever learned. And we have faith in ourselves that even if we're polar opposites, we can still respect each other's spaces. Now, it's been 13 years I'm with her. 11 of which are through a contract, just like reminding her. Is that creepy? I keep mentioning the contract. Yeah, it is? Good. Contract. It's like rubbing it in your, it's like I took the paper, the A4 paper of the contract and did this in your face, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. But I am married, I'm not single, so I don't have those struggles. Que bien, español. Did you speak Spanish? Oh, cool. Good. My wife is Argentinian, so I know Spanish. Yeah. Are you Argentinian? Really? Oh, wow, that's cool. Que lindo. So, Celeste, we've been together for 13 years, and we have such an amazing relationship. And here's the second part of jumping out of a plane without a parachute, because the way we decided to get married was not pre-planned. I didn't go down on one knee and propose and tell her a poem or anything. It was literally while we're talking to each other. She said, like, I'm looking for a house. Like, her parents were moving out of Kuwait. She lived with them, and she's like, I don't know, I want to find an apartment, a cool place. And I'm like, you really want to live with somebody, you know, you don't know? She's like, what are you proposing? I'm like, come live here with me. And she goes, no, but you know, I don't like doing that, really. But if we were married, it would have been different. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And she goes, all right, sure. And we were married the next Wednesday, literally. That's it. Like, we didn't pre-plan this. Now, here's the fucking crazy part. That woman married me when I had less than $3 in my bank account. And when I keep asking, like, I tell her, you're very smart, except for that day. Like, I fucking judge you like hell because of that day. Like, what? Like, I wouldn't put it. She goes, I have faith in you. And she said, it's not about if you'll make it or not. It's about the fact that I see you, that you don't stop before you get what you want. And that alone is worth just being, she's told me, it's worth for me being there just to watch you do it. And that's the second time I learned what it's like to jump out of an airplane without a parachute. And thank God I made it eventually. Now, the third story is the shortest because it just happened a year ago. I've always grown up in the Middle East in an area where I feel I don't belong. It's just my culture, the way I was raised, the way I think, the way I perceive things. But I've always eyed Canada since I was 13. I think I heard the word Canada for the first time. Like, what is it? And then I go, jokes about Canada. And people are like, oh, Canadians are too nice. I'm like, that's the shittiest thing you found? Fuck, subscribe, bitch. If that's the shittiest thing you could tell about people, oh, they're too nice. They apologize a lot, you know? The fuck, like, you know what my people are, how bad it can get? Oh, they'll fucking kill you, you know? Yeah, like, and I always say this in my stand-up, like, you have DEI here for minorities. We have DIE, which is just die, you know? We don't fucking care. So I've always eyed Canada. Now, when I told my wife I want to move to Canada, She said, "Let's." And the way I look at it, she was a very successful lawyer in the Middle East. She did corporate law. I had my own production house. We were doing really well. And here's this woman teaching me one more time to jump out of an airplane and realize somewhere down the line, we're gonna learn how to make the parachute again. And it's been a year and a half I'm in Canada. I made the parachute already. We're landing softly. And all of this story is to tell you, I said you cannot curate what you don't endure. Because A, I don't believe I own anything. Everything I am, everything I have, everything I learned is not mine. It's passing through me. And it's my duty to give it back better, packaged better, or adding to it, or making it bigger and better. That's my duty. But then I cannot curate that if I didn't endure the lessons that it came with. Because knowledge or wealth or anything, without the fucking muscles built around it so you can endure the hardships, it just loses its value. It becomes something else you just do. But when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations and you wake up with that aching stomach pain where you don't know what you're gonna do tomorrow, that's the best way to wake up every day grateful, at peace with yourself, and eventually with your partner. I love you, Celeste. Thank you so much for changing my life. And thank you, guys.
Another hand for George, please. It was great. I can't help thinking, though, that in your second story, it was actually your wife that did the jumping out of the plane without the parachute. She kind of made me believe it. It was a great story. Thank you so much. Next, please join me in welcoming the third of the triumvirate of... it's funny because I think about... someone was laughing today about the idea that America's going all like religious and anti-DEI and anti-trans people and anti-non-binary people and everything like this, and yet God is a three-partite creature that would have to go by they. Just a little thing to think about. Please join me in welcoming the third of the triumvirate of, of the CFTA, Jake.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming. This is great. Thanks, Jen, for hosting. I guess I was a closeted writer too for quite a while. In my 30s, I had a blog, and I've changed a lot since then. I'm in my 50s now. Back then, I was, I'd say, quite a bit more of the left brain, rational mind systems person, and nowadays, post-psychedelic, having a baby, things have changed. So it's kind of interesting for me to go back to something that I wrote quite a while ago, which is, I guess, kind of like a review of an opera. I don't know. This is kind of a... Okay, so here goes. The TV show Frasier and the filmmaker Adam Egoyan led me to believe that tasteful and intelligent people are supposed to appreciate the art of opera. I always wondered if I was missing something because I just didn't get it. Like most of my generation, much of my familiarity with opera comes from old Warner Brothers cartoons. I've only been to see live opera a few times. On each of those occasions, I happened to notice that Adam Egoyan, the Canadian filmmaker, was in attendance. I assume he must be at every highbrow cultural event in Toronto because I've also seen him at most of the live theater shows that I've been to. Given his creative output, he's clearly a tasteful and intelligent man with whom I think I would have much in common. A love of opera wouldn't be one of those commonalities. Last week, I was invited to watch the opening night performance of Wagner's Die Walküre, is that how you pronounce it, by the Canadian Opera Company. This iteration happened to be directed by that very same Adam Egoyan, so I could not refuse the opportunity. I've seen many clips of opera on TV, and I've been impressed and moved, but I've always had difficulty understanding how such an art form had survived and maintained such a level of respect. Is it an example of an emperor having no clothes? I went into the performance with an open and tolerant approach. I admit that I've always been known to value the intellectual over the emotional, Apollo over Dionysus, Spock over McCoy. With some effort of my own and through the influence of women in my life, I've made great strides in this regard. I no longer prejudicially consider, this is when the shift was happening, I guess, prejudicially considered the emotional to be a failing of the intellectual, a sort of desperate cognitive response to stimulus that cannot be encapsulated within a satisfying intellectual enframing. Boy, that's, yeah. Having achieved such recent personal evolutions, I've noticed that I now enjoy films that I used to consider maudlin and over the top. Like Carlito's Way popped for me on a recent reviewing. Wagner seemed to be as overripe and sentimental as anything from Hollywood, so I wondered if I might be able to see it now with fresh eyes. We had excellent seats, a few rows behind the conductor's head, so I was able to see his flamboyant gesticulations and some of the movements of the musicians in the back row of the orchestra. The show started with the curtain down. I was immediately enthralled by the conductor's movements and quickly began to appreciate the music for what it was, a bold and aggressive sonic creation. I closed my eyes and let my synesthesia have its way, seeing the sounds represented by the colors and shapes that ran multidimensionally through my mind's eye. The music is pretty impressive. I get how people can find art in the music. I opened my eyes to see that the curtain had risen and an unexpected set was in my view. An interesting array of beams, girders, light standards running in jagged and jarring directions. This seemed apt for the music I was hearing. So far, so good. Set design, lighting, direction can be sources of artful creation that enhance the music. Then a few of the singers started belting out the impressive and expressive sounds that can surprisingly come from the modest primate body of a human. It's hard not to be moved by the masterful reflections of human emotions that ride on the waves of air as they move from the midsection of a diva to the ears, mind, and body of the listener. So far, so good. The singing can be home to art. This opera is a product of mid-1800s Germany. It is temporally, culturally, and linguistically foreign to me. It may as well be traditional Indonesian puppet theater. I've come across some completely foreign cultural performances, whether they were from Asia or Africa or the Amazon, and I've freely given respect and admiration to such things for their tasteful or moving arrangement of sights and sounds. A Wagnerian opera was such a thing for me. I wasn't sure what they were doing or saying, but I dug their talent and their commitment. Here's where it takes a wrong turn. Opera performances have surtitles running above the stage so you can read the translations of what they are singing. Holy cow, that is some fucked up shit. The narrative contents are chock full of bizarre, misogynistic, incestuistic nuttiness. One could perhaps chalk it up to cultural relativity, given that it's even further alienated from my experience, being based on Old Norse mythology. But it's more than that. One quickly realizes that the heartfelt, ecstatic singing coming from the diva is often just some dull expository dialogue. A good filmmaker like Egoyan knows how to show rather than tell. So-called highbrow culture is very good at that. This is often what keeps it from attaining mass appeal. Opera seems to be curiously the opposite. Wagner's Die Walküre displays what may ungenerously be described as amateurish, on-the-nose storytelling that hits the viewer over the head with broad, preposterous over-seriousness. It seems like the fruit of an overexcited 14-year-old virgin boy who spends far too much time playing myth-based role-playing games. Wow, that's harsh. The weakest part of the art is at the heart of this art. It's all beautifully composed and executed music, singing, direction, and set design, but it's all done in the service of a ridiculous and overwrought core of a narrative. From what I can gather, it would be best to watch and listen to a Wagner opera without paying any attention to what it's all about. Perhaps the tragedy of all this is that Wagner didn't have a writing partner who could match his musical skills, with his sorely lacking storytelling skills. I can put up with a bit of silliness and even ugliness in art if it is in the service of a profound message, idea, or feeling. I admit it's very likely that I haven't put enough effort in to fully glean the valuable subtext of this work, but it shouldn't be this unnatural and distracting to do so. Perhaps Adam and I could have a drink and chat one day. I'm still hoping that I'm missing something. Wow. Yeah, so that was a while ago. Thank you.
All right, just have to ask, do we have any opera fans in the house? Silence. It's amazing though. Like I can understand that though, because I was really lucky when I was in grade 6. I had this teacher who came into the classroom, and she's a 6 foot tall, icy blonde who looks like a Bond girl, and she said, "My name is Dr. Hewitt. I have 2 degrees in education and discipline." And we all behaved very well for that whole year. But she decided that grade 6 was the perfect time to teach us Shakespeare. And we actually ended up doing 6, I think, Shakespeare plays in their entirety in that year and performing pieces from it. It was freaking incredible. But like, suffice to say that what ended up happening was that Shakespeare, because it happened at that particular time in my life when I was like 12, 13 years old, Shakespeare kind of became a second language to me. So when I go to a Shakespearean play, for the first minute or two, it sounds a little bit strange, and then it's like it clicks in. And I think that's the same with opera. I'm going to say that maybe it could at some point, because you're right. The surtitles are surprisingly distracting, and I think that I've enjoyed watching opera with the libretto on my lap much more than watching the surtitles. That said, that was absolutely hilarious, and I totally get everything you're saying about that. Please join me in welcoming our next reader. I met this young woman at another event that I run. So I run this open mic, and I also with Anya Wassenberg, Anya Mia Music. If anybody knows her, she used to run the singer-songwriter drop-in at the Casbah when that was still open. And we do, it's kind of sad to miss that place. It was just me. So we actually teamed up to do an open mic at Laidlaw United Church once a month called Rhyme, Rhythm, and Reason. You're welcome to come to that too. It's usually on a Thursday night. I think we've got one on the 3rd of July coming up. Why was I telling you about that? I can't remember. What was I talking about? Yes, so yes, this lovely young woman came to the event, and she's going to be. She actually came all the way from from Kitchener, to come to the event. Yes, yeah, she's actually got an event at the end of the month that I hope she'll tell you about when she's up here. But please join me in welcoming Yashika. I knew there was a reason I was talking about that.
Jen's just an amazing person. I read your book and I was just so obsessed with it. Like, if you haven't read her book, mayhaps you definitely should. It's like really relatable and like, yeah. So I just have 2 poetries. They have a bit of a angry and melancholic tone, but yeah. It all leads somewhere. Some will go towards their destinies, cleansed and reborn. Others will lie decaying on the floor, forever and ever. It is all about what is on the inside, the sorrow, the grief, the smile, the love, until reality cannot be ignored and you are under the burdens of a world that maddens your mind. You're lost, you're dumb, you're a damn fool being played around. It is all about what is on the inside, until the outside burdens crush the soul on the inside. And the only healing is in the forests that have been given away for our ambitions, the oceans that we drown in because of our desires, the earth that slowly evaporates under our touch, silently pleading as it goes down. Please stop, please stop, please stop. I will destroy everything in my rage. I will destroy everything in my rage. Please stop, please stop. And if you can't, please forgive me. Please forgive me for the hell I will rain on this heavenly earth. Forgive me for the destruction that will cleanse all of humanity's sins. So the next one is just a really short one. I recently wrote it. I know poetry is my anthem, and I have been slipping away. Death is in my veins like an inevitable scar. There is no running away from the eventual truth. Why do I try and try and try? Bleeding isn't the only way to win. Poetry is my anthem. I am lost like the stars that fade in the day. How to become anything else? I have been slipping away, getting nowhere, away and away and away. Thank you so much. Also, I am hosting a poetry open mic event in Waterloo, Kitchener, at Zanga Studios. It's called Haunting Melodies, and you can find it on Eventbrite. So if you guys want to come there, do show up. Like, it has sort of a vintage theme, and like, yeah, if you guys want to come.
I just admire anybody who travels for poetry. It's wonderful. We actually threw an 80s dance a while ago. A few weeks ago, we threw with this big like Mother's Day 80s dance and dinner and stuff. We actually had people come down from Guelph to go 80s dancing, and apparently they just go anywhere there's going to be 80s dancing, they go. So I think poets are kind of like that too. We travel to get to places where we can actually meet people who love poetry like we do. What an amazing group of people here tonight. Is there anybody who needed to sign up that has not signed up yet? Yeah. You can come up and do anything. You can come in and tell us a story about your days in professional wrestling or anything. I'd just like to introduce the next reader, and please join me in welcoming Ethan. Where's Ethan? Oh, yes. I was hoping we were going to get some more music tonight. Do you need a second mic, or you just... Awesome.
What's going on, guys? Hey. Did other people do music tonight? Yeah. Oh, thank God. There was seeing less people with guitars or anything. Thank you. My name's Ethan. I'm usually in like a punk band in Hamilton, but I kind of much prefer doing melancholy kind of sad stuff, so this is actually new for me. I haven't actually done this before, so you guys are watching the first time I'm doing this. So hopefully you like it. This one's called Vancouver. It's a song I wrote about wanting to leave Hamilton and go be with my sisters in Vancouver. So obviously I didn't do that. I wrote a song instead. All right. Sick of the side neighborhood. Don't pay your sorries now, you never could. The sun was up and rent was due. I'm leaving in a day or two. The party's loud and ending soon. The liquor hit, I looked for you. you should. I'm calming down, I'm letting go. The stage is set, you made the show. You'd scream for me, I'll take you home. It would be nice, we'll never know. Vancouver calling my name. Vancouver calling my name. Thank you guys. I'm usually in a duo with another girl, so in case you're wondering why there's a bunch of awkward pauses in there, there's usually like an angelic female vocal during that. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Gotta tell us what's your punk band called?
It's called Serotonin.
Serotonin. That's great. Yeah, we'll watch out for that. That's great. Thank you so much for coming and for doing some music too. Yeah, we had an a cappella performer earlier in the evening. Can you join me now in welcoming? Oh, I wanted to say too. I grew up in London, Ontario, and we had this unholy back and forth with Vancouver. It seemed like all these people from Vancouver kept coming to London, and all these people from London kept going to Vancouver, and I never figured out what that was all about, and I still don't know. So if you know anything more about that than I do, I'd love to find out someday. Please join me in welcoming our next reader, Hannah. Yay! It's like, are you taller than me? Oh, perfect.
Hello, hello. Oh, it is very bright. Goodness gracious. I had a migraine earlier today, so I'm going to take my glasses off. Hi, I'm very new to this. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay. So I'm from Hamilton. I'm from up on the East Mountain. My dad's from Hamilton. My grandfather's from Hamilton, blah, blah, blah. But my mom is actually from the East Coast. She's from Nova Scotia. I see a hand. Maybe. No? Okay, never mind. Sorry. And I think their marriage is kind of like what Georges is, with the contract sort of thing. They've been married for over 30 years now. But when my dad initially asked her to move in with him, she said, boy, that better come with a ring, because like I'm not moving halfway across the country just for 6 months later for you to say this isn't working out. But part of their marriage contract, if you will, is that once a year we go as a family down east to visit my mom's side of the family. They have a cute little cottage and things like that. So last year, we all went down, except for my sister, she was working. And it was my first time bringing a boyfriend down. So who is here? He's over there in the corner, Connor. So I was very nervous because, it was first time ever bringing a boyfriend. And my cousins had done it before, and they were very chill, and, but I'm the baby in the family, so I was gonna get a bunch of pressure and teasing from uncles and cousins and things. And it was also very nerve-wracking because my grandmother had passed away in 2023, so it was the first reunion without her. But yeah, so I think it was the weekend before the big family reunion, and we were doing some laundry when my dad, the washing machine at the cottage is hooked up outside. So then with the water, it's hooked up where it just drains into the grass. You know, very eco-friendly, whatever, very efficient. And my dad, I was just lazying around the house. You know, it had rained earlier that morning, so I wasn't really going down to the beach or anything. We're right on the coast, so it's gorgeous. My dad told me to literally get off my ass and go help with the laundry, because we had to do some towels and things before the big family reunion, which was gonna happen that weekend again. So I grabbed the laundry hamper and I go out of the cottage onto the deck, which is fine. I go walk down the steps and I get onto the grass. Now the grass is wet, I should remind, and I was wearing these kind of rubber sandals that are kind of like Crocs materials. They're literally called dogs, the shoes, like DAWGS. And they're kind of like sandals, kind of. I slipped. And I thought that I had like, you know when your ankle like turns in? I thought that I had like rolled my ankle. No. I broke my leg. Because in my family, if you do something, you're gonna do it well. And so not only did I break my leg, I sprained both of my ankles. And with the break, it was a spiral fracture, which means it's not just a straight break, it was like an L. So, yeah, and so I'm laying on the ground, just being like, ow. There's clothes everywhere because the basket went flying. And my dad comes over, probably thinking like, where the fuck is Hannah? I want the laundry. And sees me on the ground and is like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, no. So he's like, he checks my ankles, he thinks that there's a sprain. We don't notice the leg yet. Connor comes out of the cottage because he sees that I'm on the ground. My mom, I guess, first thought she saw all the clothes on the ground and was like, who the fuck threw clothes all over the ground? And then she sees me on the ground and he's like, oh my God, Hannah's on the ground, like full mum mode. So then they're all like circling me. So I'm like sitting up with my legs, just, you know, laying there, just chilling. And then about like 20 minutes, half an hour later, my dad goes, do you want to try standing? And then I look down at my leg and it is swollen. And I'm just like, oh, that's not good. Oh no. And my dad just goes, okay, who's gonna take her to the emerge? And when you're in Nova Scotia, in like cottage country, it's like the middle of nowhere. So this isn't like a hospital. This is like an emergency care center. And I don't know if you know, but Nova Scotia is going through a healthcare crisis. So the wait times are crazy. You might not be able to see a doctor. So, but there were two, thankfully, nearby with like a 20-minute drive-ish. So I managed to sit up. I think I butt scooted to the stairs while my mom brought the car around. Connor helped me stand up and like hobble to the car. And then I like turned around, and that's when I literally felt the bones move in my leg. I should also mention that I'm autistic. So when I felt the bones move in my leg, immediately I yelled out, the bones are moving! The bones are moving! And I guess Connor, like I didn't see it, but my dad saw that he like turned his head and was like, oh! And so I got into the car, the seat was like pulled all the way back so I could like extend my leg out. And this is also Nova Scotia, like backwoods, you know. So we are on secondary highways. This is pothole city. My mom will not drive around potholes. She is not that kind of, my dad will. My mom will not. So we are going over potholes. And I'm like crying because, you know, my leg's broken. I am hurt. And And so I'm just like, call an ambulance, like, let's just go. And my mom's like, Hannah, by the time the ambulance comes here, we will be there. Like, no. And I'm just like, ugh. And it's like, like, oh my God. So we get there, and they look at the break. They do some x-rays. Obviously, it's a spiral fracture. And, you know, we didn't even know about the sprained ankles then. But I had to fly out the next week back to Hamilton with Connor. And so they had to check to see if I was okay flying. So they called, it was like way out with their sister hospital. But they were okay with it. So they did like a half splint, which is, if you know those like plaster casts, they did like half of that. So they did like a plaster up here, but they did it above the knee so that I couldn't bend my knee. So when it came to going to the airport, which was in Halifax, like driving there was fine, getting there was fine. We did WestJet, I think, which was actually not bad, despite them pulling out of Hamilton, you know. They weren't too bad. The lady was very, very nice at the beginning, and then she switched to a different lady. That lady was not that nice. When we went, because I was in a wheelchair, you know, we called ahead to make sure that there was accommodations. We had to switch seats around and things like that. The second lady, we got into this one elevator to move towards where we were gonna go onto the plane. And she banged my foot in the elevator, but it was my good foot, so I didn't say anything. I could have gotten money. But yeah, so then we managed to get up to the plane, and we're waiting because they only have, for those who don't know, with the airplane, the seats or the aisle row is so small now, you can't get a regular wheelchair in between. They actually have a special one that they have, like it's that skinny. So, however, there was someone else using it. There was another person who was disabled who was using it. So we were waiting for that. However, this lady decided to ask me, because Connor was also, he was holding onto my crutches. I should also mention, Connor was doing amazing because we had 2 carry-ons and 2 like under-seat bags, and he was holding like all of it. He had like a backpack on, he had like 2 carry-on bags, and I don't know if I was holding one of the bags or if I was holding the crutches, but it was just like there was a lot. So yeah, but this lady asked me, can you walk? And I thought that she meant, can I just walk the little bit between the airport and the plane? Like the little pathway there? So I said yes. She did not mean that. She meant, can I walk the entire way to my seat, which was aisle 27, all the way in the back. So she left me, and she took the chair, and I got my crutches, and I hobbled. And again, because the aisle is so skinny, you cannot do like a full like stance, right? Like a whole stance. I had to go on like an angle, like in between the seats. And also, when you're like disabled, you go first. So I didn't realize that. So as I'm like hobbling, so I'm like, and then as I do that, I'm also like panting. So I'm like, Connor's behind me carrying like 4 bags. And then every time I stop, he tells me what aisle seat I'm at. So I'm like, and Connor's like 13, 23. I'm just like, oh my God. This happened like 5 times until we finally got it to 27. And then I like collapsed in my seat. But before that, I looked behind me and I see the entire like plane, like everybody. So I was holding up the work, so I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. So I'm like, oh, like on my little crutches, like I can't put my foot down, so I have to keep it like extended because I can't bend my knee. And it's just like, holy shit. So I get to aisle 27, and it's an aisle seat, so I stick my leg out, and then one of the airline stewardesses, she was like, that's not gonna work because of the trolleys, the trays, right, for food and drinks. So she's like, we're gonna have to accommodate, we're gonna have to change seats. So she's like, just wait, like take your time, like rest. She was very, very nice. But you'll have to go to aisle 30, which is just a little bit, so it's not that bad. So I'm like, okay. So I get up again and get to aisle 30. I remembered from hearing somewhere, aisle 30 is where they put the passengers who have died on the plane. So Connor sits next to me. I'm in like the window seat so I can stick my leg in the middle. He's in the aisle. I'm like, we're in dead man's row. We're in the people who have died. Like, oh my God. So it was awful. But also I was just like, I want rum and Coke. I'm getting drunk. I don't care. But getting off the plane was much easier because the stewardess was like, we are going to get the wheelchair for you. We are going to go out. And we went out backwards. And literally while I'm just like dying, while getting wheeled out, sticking my leg out, Connor again with all the bags, and me holding the crutches. One of the stewardesses was just like, oh my gosh, I love your bracelet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. It was awful. But yeah, so that's how with breaking my leg down is. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for Hannah, please. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know if this makes you feel a lot better, but that row might be Dead Man's Row, but it's also the most survivable place on the plane. When a plane crashes, I mean, not that you want that to happen, but when a plane crashes, that last row is where most of the people will survive, if anybody survives. Unless you're like the guy who jumped out. Somebody jumped out of that plane that crashed last week, apparently, and survived, and I still can't quite believe that. I think he broke his leg. Unbelievable, yeah. This just kind of occurred to me. I'm just going to read you a poem, and it just kind of occurred to me after everybody who's read tonight. There's a lot of talk about safe spaces, holding space, just being kind to each other, and there's a lot of buzz in the world today that seems to mock the concept of being good to each other. I don't like that kind of talk. I'm with Tom Lehrer, who said that there's people who hate other people, and I just hate people like that. This is called What is a Safe Space, and it's kind of my philosophy on that. A safe space is one where everyone can have a voice, where they are free to say what they want, not one in which they get to arbitrate what they hear. In a safe space, no one tries to change you. They don't edit your content or critique your approach without invitation. The only response isn't, this is what you did wrong, or that was not to my liking. It's, what's the help you need to get you to the next step of your own perfect next draft? Anything else is the arrogance of assumption. And listen to what our archetypal mother says. If you have nothing nice to say, keep your critique to yourself. A safe space is not comfortable. It is not a bubble. It has sharp edges and Band-Aids. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I feel really blessed. Is there anybody who didn't get a chance to perform who would like to perform? Well, I do have to tell you, there is still a performance opportunity available to you tonight, and I hope that everyone will take advantage of it. Again, I don't think everyone was here when I was talking about it originally, but we have what's called Talker's Corner. Talker's Corner, Talker's Alcove, Talker's Atrium. So just behind this door where Jake is, there's a camera, and there's a little square on the floor that'll tell you where to stand. And you're welcome to give your testimonial of what you liked about the evening, or what you didn't like about the evening, and what I can do to make things up to you. You know, if you need me to make things better. Or you can take the prompt for tonight, which is, what has writing given you, or what is writing contributed to your life? And I'd love it if you would just stand up there and say something on your way out. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming tonight. There will not be a July Right On Right Now, or WOWN, as we were trying to get it to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Riz, for actually coming on board with trying to make WOWN a thing. There won't be a one next month in July, because July spectacularly has over 30 performances. Is that correct? 30 in 10 days. This is actually going to be one of the locations for the Hamilton Fringe. And Jake, who you heard tonight, is actually performing a Fringe show called, do you want to join a cult? Is that? Let's start a fake cult. So I hope you'll come and see some of the shows here. I'm going to be in a show, actually, that's going to be at the Westdale, called The Fortune Teller, where I play a fortune teller who's dealing with her niece who may be pregnant. It's pretty funny. I can't believe we've only got like 3 weeks to get it together. The arts are fun. Thank you again so much for coming out tonight on the longest day of the year. I hope you, this, for some reason, I guess it kind of floats between the 21st and the 22nd, 20th and the 21st. So tonight is actually officially the longest night of the year. I hope you will find something wonderful to do with all that extra daylight. And thank you so much, and hope you'll see you back here in August. And hope you can come back any Thursday and take part in the storytelling, in the open mic. Thank you very much, everybody. Big round of applause for everyone who performed tonight. Thank you so much to such an incredible amount of talent and wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Good night.